Hey, what's up guys? This is Dr. Quads, and today we're going to be taking a look at this right here. This is the TuneRC EZ AIO. It's a 1-to-2S AIO meant for whoops, and some of the features of it include really fantastic pad layout, so when you're soldering up your little tiny whoop, it's not going to be too difficult. Also, they tell me that because of the fantastic layout, the noise profile for this AIO is fantastic. Now, my little hero was actually designed for a 5-in-1 AIO, like the Happy Model X12. So I'm gonna have to be doing a little bit of work to convert this. So I'm gonna have to do a little bit of work to put a VTX on here nice and smoothly. And of course, I'm gonna be using the Radiomaster RP2, which is an ELRS module that's really tiny. I'll be using the Rush Tiny Tank because it has a fantastic little sled here that is going to slot right with the AIO into the 25.5 whoop stack, just like that. So that hopefully that will be pretty easy to install. So first things first, we're gonna start preparing some of these wires by pre-tinning them. These are gonna be my ELRS wires. Okay, so now we want to pre-tin all these pads. I can say that these pads are really well spaced apart. I hope you can see that here. The spacing on these motor wires is really good. And that's so nice because you guys gotta understand that sometimes you can bridge the connection on those pads and it's really annoying to deal with. Also, you might, if you didn't catch it, fry your board if that happens. So it's nice to see these pads as spaced apart as they are. Let's see how they solder though. Always, always, always use flux when you're gonna be soldering a smaller board, because the flux that comes from these thin solder wires here isn't always enough to kind of coat these pads, and given the fact that you want as little heat and time as possible, it's just a good idea. What's really nice is you see here, they actually have a set of extra pad wiring holes for a capacitor. So really nice little touch. I love seeing these kinds of things from board designers because ultimately it just shows that they put a lot of time and effort into it. That's really nice feeling here. Soldering to these pads is fantastic. I actually prefer soldering the motors even on a tiny whoop rather than using the connectors, because the connectors, they are pretty easy, but you're sacrificing quite a bit of power, and I don't like sacrificing power. Now I know why they call it the EZ AIO, because indeed this feels pretty much the same as soldering a 40 amp AIO for a 4S or a 6S. And that's saying something given how many tiny whoops I've built at this point, and they are always a nightmare for the soldering side of things. Okay, I think I'm going to actually be a bit unconventional with this here. I'm gonna look at how this is placed and then where my motor wires will come from right there. So they need to come through right here like that. Now I know kind of the basic orientation here. I have to have this. I'm going to feed some solder into this. Given the fact that we have some resin, it shouldn't take too much heat to get this to bind. Okay, that actually looks like it's gonna fit just fine. Channel 1, channel 2 running across there, because this sled's gonna come down. I was blown away with how easy this was. And of course, that's why I said they definitely deserve the name that they gave it. Now, there is one thing interesting, and that is these motors seem to be more powerful on this board than they are on the Happy Model X12. And when I actually noticed that was when I was trying to reorder the motors. So here we go. Now we have the old Happy Model X12 build here. And I'm gonna plug this battery in. And we're gonna do the reorder motors and see what happens. See how weak that is? Feels much weaker. It's kind of stutters. It definitely does, look at that, and it's kind of stuttering right there. It doesn't seem very confident. Now that could be because the Happy Model X12 uses the JST connectors, whereas the EZ 1 to 2S is actually directly soldered onto the board. I much prefer direct soldering if it's an easy solder. And okay, so here we go. We're gonna select reorder motors, select OK, and start. So that's a lot stronger. Okay, but enough talk. Let's actually see how this thing flies. Okay, let's go. Oh, that is so much more power than it used to be. So these motors definitely are getting the juice. Oh, this feels so good. Just so much control. Oh, Clipfield, if you're watching right now, a little bit tight for the flippy floppies. I'm not a big flippy floppy guy. Wow, this is really great, guys. All right, TuneRC, the EZ AIO. A slight little hiccup there. All you have to do is just make sure you solder your ELRS to UART1 and you'll have no trouble. But this just makes these 0804 motors feel so much more responsive. Yeah, my battery is draining faster, which just tells me my motors are pumping out a lot more juice than they normally do. Now, normally the flight time of this is something like 6 minutes, and I see that I have to calibrate the battery because it showed 3.9 when it should have showed 4.2, but that's fine. So normally the flight time is something like 6 minutes, which honestly is a bit long. Show me low battery, but I don't think it's low battery. We are gonna land just in case though. Let me check the voltages of the battery. I think it's 3.6, which usually you can fly for another minute or two with that. Feel the motor temps. Motor temps are good. Better than they used to be. I think it's also maybe the gyro is just better on this board, which causes a lot less stuttering in the motors. Let me just double check to make sure that my battery, 3.9. So we're gonna see if we can fix that. I've actually never had to calibrate the power settings in a flight controller, so to be honest, I don't really know how to. Now I'm looking for my cable. Oh gosh, I was looking at the HDMI output and I'm like, why is it so laggy? I should be looking at the actual Xiaofei show. This thing feels so much better. Oh my gosh, it feels so powerful. So good. Yeah, this board is awesome. So thank you so much to TuneRC for giving me this board to test out. It is awesome. I'm gonna be using this from now on whenever I make the little hero. Just amazing. Well, actually so much power. It's like, you see that, how I'm going a little bit too high? Normally, I'm feeling like underpowered and I'm going really slow, but this just makes these motors absolutely rip. Wow, really good. Whoa, almost see too much power. I'm not used to having that much power on this little guy. Oh, and check this out, guys. Oh yeah. All right, yeah, so the battery was, like, you have to calibrate the battery in beta flight. So I'm guessing the flight time now has actually gone down by using this board. Technically, it's a little bit heavier because I have to use a VTX, like the tiny tank, but also because the motors are clearly outputting a lot more of that power. So this is very good, though. I much rather would have less flight time, but more power and more agility. Oh, okay, we're gonna just land now. Oh, okay. That's the best way to land, isn't it? All right, guys, this is the EZ AIO from TuneRC, and I definitely recommend you pick one up, and I'm gonna be using these for all my builds from now on. Dr. Quads, I'll catch you next time.